Wow. Good morning, Kate. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
Oh, lovely. I'm really excited to talk to you today. I've heard all about your book, so I'm really thrilled to bits to hear a lot more. So this morning I'm doing a podcast with Kate Chaytor-Norris, who is a nutritional therapist based up in North Yorkshire, I believe. So before we go any further, Kate, you've brought out an amazing book, which I believe is now for sale, out there on Amazon and lots of other places. I just want to talk a little bit, first of all, before we go, talk about the book, a little bit about your background and how you got into it. And so, first of all, because, interestingly, like yourself, I'm all into about us healing ourselves with our own natural what's within us, without having to, I'm not saying that we shouldn't go to the doctors. We have to go to the doctors for certain things, but certainly we have our own natural defenses within our body. And I think going forward, more and more people are going to need more help with their self-care and looking at their nutrition, looking at ways to heal themselves, and looking at their spirituality and kind of finding their peace within. Because I think what's happened is we've gone at 100 miles an hour and we had to stop at some point, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely.
We couldn't go on the way it was going. So before I go in, I just want to know a little bit about your background and what got you into this type of work, please.
Okay. Well, I've kind of done all sorts of, different things in life, but I've always, from even being at school, loved biology and loved bodies and wanted to find a kind of alternative complementary therapy to do, but couldn't quite find the right one. And I ended up going to see a nutritional therapist many, many years ago for my own health. And she was telling me about all these amazing things. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And she said, oh, well, if you're interested, read this book. And that was Patrick Holford's Optimum Nutrition Bible, which I read. And that was my light bulb moment. I was like, this is what I want to do. And so then I had to go and get my chemistry A level, which was terrifying. And then did 3 years up and down to London, doing my training. And then qualified 11 years ago, and I'm now sort of out in the big bad world and loving it. I just feel so blessed to have found such a fantastic job that I love doing.
And that's ultimately what's important, finding your passion in life and your purpose, isn't it?
Yeah,
ultimately. So, when did the idea or inspiration come to you about writing the book? When did that come about?
I think a lot of, the title is I Wish My Doctor Had Told Me This. There is more to our healing than medication. And I had so many clients sitting on my sofa saying, why did my doctor not tell me this? Can you write a book? And I was like, everything inside me was going, no, that sounds like far too much hard work. But it kind of just started to grow, and I started blogging and just writing my thoughts down, and it sort of expanded. And then I started telling everybody I was writing a book because I knew that was going to make me do it. I sort of, wrote the book, and then had to sort of get it published, and I couldn't find any publishers who would take me on. So I self-published and found this amazing chap who helped me do it. And so, yes, it came out in May, and it's been hugely successful, which is really exciting. And it's just a way of me kind of, when I have a consultation with a client, I only have 2 hours. And there's so much to cover, when you're looking at chronic disease. I'm not talking, as you said, if there's an acute problem, get yourself to hospital. Brilliant. They'll save your life. But with chronic disease, basically it's our body reacting to its environment. So looking at somebody's environment, you know, yes, we need to look at what they're eating, we need to look at their toxic exposure, we need to look at their stress levels, we need to know how much sleep they're getting. So all of those things, it takes a huge amount of time to go through all of those things. So I kind of do the basics with people, but say, actually, if you read my book, it's going to give you a lot more information, understanding, because I think when people understand how their bodies work, they're like, oh, so that's why I should be eating more broccoli, or that's why I should maybe be, you know, winding back on the chocolate biscuits, because it kind of really makes sense. And in the book, I kind of do lots of areas where, you know, I say, well, if you have got X, this is what your body might be expressing symptoms wise. And so they can go through the list and I go, oh yeah, I'm ticking quite a lot of those. I think maybe I should look at my blood sugar balance, or, you know, all those kind of things. And the other thing was the toxic chapter. When I started sort of going through somebody's day about the potential toxic exposure that we have, it's quite mind-boggling.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And just making people aware of where those toxins are and what we can do, just making little changes that can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And just talking about toxins, I was only talking quite recently to a friend who's got the fillings in.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and she was kind of saying, look, I need to find an alternative dentist to get these out, because there's a lot of controversy about, you know, back in time when, you know, and it's fascinating that you put together a book like this. And yes, in this 21st century that we now live, I mean, back in caveman days, we would have been we wouldn't have been as stressed as we are today. We wouldn't have, we would have walked the planet, and it would have been such a, I don't know, you can just imagine it, can't you? You know, we would have been eating berries. We wouldn't have eaten meat every day, because we wouldn't have caught an animal every day, would we? And
lots of variety, lots of, you know, seasonal variety.
Seasonal variety. Also, listening to I like the fact that about the sun and the moon, and the cycles of the seasons, of all that. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, what would you personally like to see for the 21st century going forward? You know, from what's happened.
Well, I can have anything I want.
Yes, I think we'll go with that one.
Let's go for gold.
Yes.
Okay. I would, well, I would be completely changing the way that the kind of medical profession works, from trying to, and it's understandable. You go to the doctor, you have a 10-minute consultation. They don't have time to look at your environment and see what needs to be changed. All they can do is kind of throw medication at you, and which suppresses the symptoms. So if I could change things around, I would be creating more time for doctors to sit and talk to their patients and find out what's going on in their lives, and you know, making simple changes in all sorts of directions. Yes, might be food, might be stress levels. You know, I would have everybody learning to meditate. I would have that compulsory in schools.
Absolutely.
You know, teaching kids how to manage stress levels. I would also make schools not so academic results driven. It's not, you know, but anyway, that's kind of wandering off piste. And, you know, the government, I would be getting the government to subsidize healthy food. I would be putting huge taxes on companies that want to create food that makes us sick. I mean, I would get so carried away.
You should be one of the pioneers up there, and, you know,
love it.
Making that change.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I know, but it's hard because everybody has an axe to grind, and unfortunately, you know, when it boils down to it, money makes the world go round.
It does, but those little tiny steps that people like who are into alternative therapies, like me and you are, make those small changes, and people start hearing more about it, and how good this can help, because, you know, I'm not saying for people not to take medication in some ways, but ideally, if you can use another method, I've seen great results from giving reflexology. You
Oh,
know,
it's wonderful.
I
Yeah.
just, you know, that people's stress levels are just from up here down to here, you know.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
think that should be brought into, you know, rather than giving the medication, maybe go and see a therapist
Oh,
this
definitely.
for so many sessions or
Yeah,
whatever it might
absolutely. I
be.
think, you know, trauma and stress, I believe, and my stress, there's a chapter in the book about stress.
Yeah.
I believe that stress is the single most damaging thing that we can expose our bodies to, because, you know, going back when you were talking about cavemen, I mean, there's a lot in my book about the caveman existence, and really
Yeah.
our bodies haven't evolved since when we were living in caves. So they are really struggling to deal with this 21st century environment. But the stress response is still working on the fact that, you know, stress then was a saber-toothed tiger. And so therefore that's what our body responds to. So all the kind of housekeeping and digestion, regeneration, repair, immune system, all those things get put on the back burner when you're running stress, because those are not important if you're about to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger.
Exactly.
And so, you know, that's, I probably do stress management with 95% of my clients. It's very rare I get a lovely Zen person through my door. It just doesn't, you know, it doesn't fit with our 21st century world.
Absolutely. And I find certainly in my profession, the ones that I see are the professionals that are coming to me, i.e. nurses, teachers,
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
who are in,
absolutely.
you know, stressful situations with their jobs and
Yeah.
whatever. I'd like to ask you, who are you trying to reach out to with the book? Who's it kind of, who would it be a good fit for?
I think anybody who is kind of remotely interested in health and well-being, but
Yeah.
also those people where, you know, body's starting to grumble at them. And, you know, things are starting to go wrong, and you might have gone to the doctor and started taking acid reflux medication, or, you know, they put you on statins, or all the kind of medications for chronic conditions. And there's so much information in my book about, you know, what we can do to turn those situations around. So it's kind of, I mean, but actually, I've had teenagers reading my book going, wow, that's amazing. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
So it's kind of for everybody. I just feel
Yeah.
really passionately that everybody should get this stuff and understand about listening to their body, and understanding that the 21st century environment is very challenging.
Yeah.
And, you know, what we can do to change things, to help our bodies, you know, live a long and happy life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, with the current pandemic, it has made us look at, hasn't it? Really reflect on, you know, going back to nature, just looking
Completely.
at, you know, being mindful of, you know, I was just as we were talking, then seeing a beautiful blue tit on my tree,
Yeah.
you know, whereas before all this, we were like at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, I never had the time to look,
No,
and
no,
yes. So
absolutely.
there are some good things that have come out of the pandemic. I mean, I know it has been hideous for a lot of people, but I think anything that encourages us to slow down,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
breathe properly, that's a real key one. I mean, I do that with all my clients, you know, check how they're breathing, because most
Yeah.
people are not breathing properly, and that's the kind of fundamental that we're supposed to be doing 24/7. And if you're not doing that right, the knock-on effect is huge.
And also, like you mentioned before, meditation, if you
Oh,
and yes, I, like yourself, would love to see meditation, and I know they do it in other countries,
yeah,
but if we can really get
make it mainstream.
mainstream part of their curriculum
Yeah.
to do meditation, how amazing would that be?
Be incredible. It would
I
be
just,
incredible.
you
And I think
know,
children, if you can catch them young,
yes,
before their brain starts to go crazily monkey mindish,
yeah,
you know, and you can get them into the groove of doing that at a young age. I mean, what an amazing skill to have.
absolutely. My concern is, you know, that people are on a device from such a young age.
Yeah.
You know, technology, don't get me wrong, it's been amazing and it's transformed our lives in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But for young children and in teen, you know, to be on this device constantly like that,
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
it's
Well, there's no
worrying.
downtime, you know, and kids aren't bored anymore, you
No,
know, because you've always got a screen to look at. And actually, I think boredom is a really important part of growing up. I mean, I remember being really bored as a child, and it was great because it made you go and find something to do, create, you
yes,
know, and being
yes.
creative again is so important.
It would
Um,
absolutely would be. What are your top tips for looking after your immune system? What would your top tips be for looking after your immune system? Obviously, at this time,
yeah.
please.
Wow, gosh, three. That's quite tricky. Okay, so
Well,
probably
even one, it doesn't matter as well.
no. I was thinking I could think of hundreds of
Oh,
things.
right, okay,
So, okay, I would say sleep is really,
yes,
really important. It's a
massively.
hugely undervalued activity, and our body does so much healing and repairing while we're sleeping. So, you know, making sure that you're getting to bed at a good time. And my kind of rule of thumb is that if you are having to wake up to an alarm,
Mhm.
I mean, then that means you're probably not getting enough sleep. You know, you need to be going to bed a bit earlier. And it's chipping away at that kind of routine because, you know, we get into a routine of going to bed at X, but maybe just half an hour earlier.
Yeah.
And having a nice calm bedtime routine, you know, so you're not going to bed on, you know, having watched a thriller or something that's really revved up the body.
Mhm.
So that would be one. From a diet point of view, sugar is the one thing that completely blitzes your immune system, as well as doing all sorts of other damage. But
Yeah.
you know, excess sugar molecules in the immune system will stick to your white blood cells, and it means that those white blood cells, that's your immune system, they can't do their job properly. So that would be my other one. But you know, the sugar topic, there is a whole chapter on sugar in my book because it's
Yeah.
such an emotive subject, and it is incredibly drug-like, you know, and it's difficult to sort of, you know, fiddle around with people's sugar levels. But my goodness, I would say that, you know, out of anything on a diet change, that is probably has the most profound effect if you can get the sugar levels lower, and just maybe go, you know, rather than having a sugary snack, just go, okay, from now on, if I need a snack, I'm going to try and make it savory. And yeah, I mean, there's loads of things. And then I think the other one is, you know, and this has been in the press a lot, is to make sure that you have got optimal vitamin D levels. Absolutely
Usually.
vital.
Usually.
Vitamin C and zinc. Those are the three completely basic natural nutrients, which if we all had optimal levels,
Yeah.
we were all getting enough sleep, and you know, we were not eating gallons of sugar, you know, we would all be fine. You know, we are being bombarded by viruses all the time. And I think that, you know, as is in the press, it's generally the people who have underlying issues that get the problems with COVID. So if we can all just get ourselves in a slightly better place, you know, these viruses just won't cause a problem.
Absolutely. I love the idea of vitamin D because I've been taking vitamin D for many, many years. You know, and I have to say, touch wood, I've not had many colds or flus at
Yeah.
all. I don't have the flu vaccine. You know, if I can, you know, because I feel I'd rather do it in a natural way.
Of course.
More, you
Absolutely.
know, so vitamin D, yeah, and all those three things that you say, Absolutely. I completely agree with you there. Now, obviously, I'd like to ask, have you anything going on, you know, online? How can people, do you have any workshops? Are you looking to do anything like that?
Kind of was running workshops. Well, I used to run lots of workshops, but I kind of, they're jolly hard work.
Yeah.
But I do love doing them because it's lovely having that sort of one-to-one contact with people. At the moment, I am revamping my website, and I'm going to be trying to get some little 20-30 minute talks on there for people to, you know, to help them understand about blood sugar control, and, you know, how to help their liver to you know, optimal detoxing and all those kind of things. So at the moment, I mean, if you kind of Google me, I've got various talks online, but they're not all in one place at the moment. So that's my New Year's project.
Resolution. So that's what you're going to have, all these talks, so people can be directed to those. Exactly. That sounds fabulous.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're coming to a close now, and is there any other things that, Kate, that we haven't mentioned? I will ask how people can get a hold of your book. Have you got can you show the book? Can you show us what the front cover looks like? Fantastic. Well, I'm definitely going to buy that. You know, it sounds just, it'd be a great read, and
I think it's very much a book from the heart. You know, and that's why I feel so passionately about getting it out to people, because most, you know, all the people who have read it just have loved it.
And that's the beauty of, you know, putting all this together, all your expertise, all the experience that you've, you know, encountered over the many years of what you've been doing is encapsulated in there, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
Yes.
And so how can people what's your website address, please, for people who might be interested in checking you out, or how can they get hold of your book?
So you can, I mean, obviously my book's on Amazon, or you can order it direct from my website, which is www.nutritionyorkshire.com. And you can go in and order it direct there. Or, you know, I mean, if you want to cut out the middleman, then, you know, email me direct.
Yes, what's your email address, please?
My email address is kate@nutrition4vitality.co.uk.
That's amazing. It's been absolutely a pleasure talking to you today, because we sing from a very similar hymn sheet about where we are with things that, you know, and I really hope and trust going forward people do take heed about looking after, and I think, you know, I've got a strong feeling that people will start looking at more self-care now, and looking at ways to prevent getting viruses and things.
Well, I really hope so. I mean, my job is to empower people.
Yes.
To make, create their own wellness. As you were saying at the beginning, our bodies are these amazing machines that have this incredible ability to heal. But they just kind of need a bit of help sometimes.
They do. So lovely. A real thank you for talking today, and I'll look forward to reading your book very soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Thank you, Kate. You have a lovely day. Bye.
And you. Bye.